Welcome to a new episode of the Straight Wrestling Voices of the Indies podcast. I'm your host Morbo, and with me, as always, everyone's favorite US independent wrestling fan, Sebastian.
Thank you as always for the introduction, Morbo, and welcome everyone to this week's episode of Straight Wrestling Voices of the Indies. And our guest today can definitely be called one of the most influential wrestlers in the independent wrestling scene of the Midwestern United States. He has been active for decades at this point. He's a very respected independent wrestler, and we are very happy to have him as our guest today. And with that, I would like to welcome Jeremy Wyatt.
Well, thank you for the very kind introduction. Excited to talk to you guys.
So, Jeremy, for the people who don't know who you are, who is Jeremy Wyatt?
I am an independent professional wrestler. I have been wrestling since late 2001. I am based out of Kansas City, Missouri, which is essentially almost right in the center of the United States. If you divvied it up, I'm almost right dab in the middle. Kansas City is the biggest city in the United States as far as centrally located. So,
can you tell us how you got into wrestling as a fan, but also as a wrestler?
Well, I just started watching it as a kid. Probably, I'm old, so I'll be 48 this year. So probably 1986 to 1987 is when I started watching it. And then 1988, around the time of Clash of the Champions 1, Sting versus Flair. And also that happened to be, if I remember correctly, that was the same day as WrestleMania 4. So those two events happening, I believe is on the same day, if my memory serves correct. But those two events, I was enthralled with both of them. And just from that day on, I just became hooked. And been, gigantic wrestling fan ever since. And I got involved. Like I said, I started training and had my first match in 2001. I didn't really know that independent wrestling or wrestling in general existed beyond, what I saw on TV, like WWF and WCW or NWA. And I knew of Japanese wrestling and stuff like that. But I happened to go to a friend's house and he was watching some independent wrestling. And I remember he was watching Christopher Daniels match. And I was just like, whoa, what is this? And because I did not know this existed. And this is probably, 1999 or 2000. And so then I just started watching like anything I could find as far as like what was independent wrestling. And just luckily enough, one day I was searching around on the internet, just kind of perusing, and I came across a site that was it was called NWA Kansas, and they said they were having an open tryout up in St. Joseph, Missouri, which is about an hour north of where I live. And so I was like, oh, screw it. I might as well try it out. And went up, did actually pretty well at the tryout for never, not having any experience beyond just watching wrestling. And then after that, I decided I was going to start training, and it's 2026 and here we are.
You have the nicknames The Rebel and The Monarch. Where do these names come from?
Well, The Rebel was very uncreative because Rebel is actually just my middle name. And so that's just wrestling needed a name and was not very creative that day. So my full name is Jeremy Rebel Wyatt. So I just tossed on The Rebel. So not a fun story by any means with that one. But the Monarch, so I ended up changing it to the Monarch after, back in, I guess, late 2016, early 2017. It was some people, they started calling me like the king of Kansas City wrestling. And I was kind of ready to change up what I was doing a little bit, like not a full on gimmick change, but just kind of like modify it, adapt it, reinvent it to an extent. And so they started calling me the King of Kansas City and blah blah blah. And I was trying to think of something to play off of King, and there used to be, and I'm a gigantic baseball fan, and so there used to be a Negro League baseball team in Kansas City called the Monarchs, and Monarch royalty, etc. And then their logo, one of their logos involves a crown, and so I just kind of pieced that together. Love for baseball, it ties into Kansas City, and so I adapted the Monarch, and then just been rolling with that ever since.
You also appeared under the name Revolution in some matches. Can you tell us the story behind the name?
Oh, it was nothing. That was just more just me doing a mask gimmick and just doing something. I get bored easy with wrestling, so it was literally me kind of just almost amusing myself by throwing on a mask and a full body suit and going just instead of the Rebel, just adding Rebel Lucha, because I would actually try to change my style and incorporate a little bit of lucha stuff in it and a little more high flying. And so I would try to wrestle a totally different style. Like even as simple as I would try to throw strikes with my left hand instead of my right hand. I would try to run the ropes differently. So it was like, I don't know. It was my way of kind of entertaining myself, because I do get bored kind of easily, and not in a bad way. It's just I don't have like a lot of things that I just consistently do. It's like I'll do a couple things for a short time, and then I'm like, I need to refresh it and do something new as far as like move sets and stuff. And so that was just my way of just kind of trying to be creative, have fun, and just in a way challenge myself as well to see if I could actually pull it off without it being obvious that it's me doing it.
As someone who has not only been active in St. Louis, but all over the Midwest, including Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois, and Indiana as well, how would you describe the Midwest wrestling scene? Are there certain hotspots?
I mean, I think it's really strong. I think it's drastically overlooked. In the United States, it's there's a lot of East Coast, West Coast, where if you're there, there's more eyeballs on you, and I just feel like the Midwest gets overlooked. But I would put our collection of guys up against anybody's. But yeah, like St. Louis Anarchy. That's a great spot. Super solid promotion. There's a lot of places up near Chicago that are a little, well, like AAW at one time was, I don't know if it's quite has the cachet that it used to, but it was like viewed as a very big indie in the United States. And there's a scattering of places that are decently known, but I still feel like it's mostly a scene and area that's overlooked.
How did the independent wrestling scene in general, and especially the St. Louis area in particular, changed since the beginning of your career?
I mean, it's changed a lot, because I mean, when I first started, a lot of it was you would email people, and you would have to send like videotapes and resumes, and and now it's there's so much social media now, and not saying you don't have to message people to get work or to get chances, but like now it's again so much social media. It's very easy for, I mean, there's tons of people that get booked solely off just some viral clip. It's like they did some crazy move and now all of a sudden they're booked everywhere. It was not like that when I first started. I would say there's way more promotions now as well. It was at least in my area, there's tons more wrestling promotions and guys or girls that are involved in wrestling now. So it's grown, and it's a lot easier now, I think, to kind of get your name out there if that's what you're really trying to do.
You already said that you had your first match in 2001, but the first match that you can find on Cage Match was a match that you had in 2003 for Gateway Championship Wrestling. What can you tell us about this match against Croc in particular, and maybe the time back then in general?
Well, yeah, there's like I love Cage Match. I think it's a great site, but yeah, it has a lot of matches of mine that are missing. Like I think I've looked on there, and I believe I'm in the yeah, it has my debut in 2003, but yeah, my actual debut was uh October 13th, 2001, and I in between there and 2003, I probably had a couple hundred matches, and uh yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I remember a whole lot about that match in particular, to be honest. Uh,
You can also just like in general talk about like your time when you started out. You don't have to do it particularly about the match. Maybe like the
yeah,
first or 2 years.
yeah, just the first few years I wrestled. So I mean, I did not know this going in, but when I first started, the place that I mentioned, the NWA Kansas, they ran shows in Kansas under the NWA banner, and then they ran shows in Missouri under this banner called MEW. So it was Midland Empire Wrestling. And so, not knowing this going in at all, because I knew absolutely no one, but the promoter for that place was not well liked by anyone around here. And so the first few years of my career actually were just solely wrestling for him, because he had such a bad reputation that I was guilty by association. So I would, I would reach out to other promoters and try to get work and stuff like that, and I would just get no sold, or just blown off. And then and basically the second they would say, "Well, who trained you?" And I'd say, "Who trained me?" And then it'd be like, "Nope, no good." But so that went on for a while, and that was kind of tough and frustrating and everything. But eventually, I I was able to get on a Central States wrestling show, and they had a very good reputation. Like they basically kind of threw me a bone, and I got on there. And once I got on there, I did really well. Had a really good match. Um, Actually, if I remember right, I think my first match there was against Jason Strife, and it went really well. And then like once I started working there, it was much easier to get work elsewhere. And then after that, I branched out and was working quite a few different places. But yeah, the first couple of years were pretty tough, just because I couldn't branch out too much, and I felt like I was kind of like uh, pigeonholed, or canceled for really no reason other than just I happened to start wrestling for a promoter that had a really bad reputation.
Because you already mentioned it, I wanted to like ask this question later on, but it's a good point to do it. When we talk about Central States Wrestling, as you already mentioned, you were someone who was a part of like the original CSW from Kansas that existed from 2004 to 2008, and also the rebrand of the promotion that still exists, that used to be Dynamic Wrestling Federation. What can you tell us about the two CSWs?
Well, the original CSW. Well, actually, if you go back as far as like Kansas City wrestling history goes, back in the day, there was uh, the territory was Central States Wrestling, and so there was a promotion I mean, this is, go back to the days of Harley Race and guys like that. And they used to run every Thursday at Memorial Hall and et cetera. But so the kind of the rebirth of CSW was kind of meant to be, I guess, a kind of an acknowledgement of the past. And they ran shows in Lawrence, Kansas at the Armory. And the first run of CSW, it spun off of another promotion that was called MWR, which, if I remember right, it was Midwest Renegade Wrestling. But anyways, when they kind of branched away or split up, they repurposed themselves as CSW. And back then, it was very much it was kind of the one big promotion kind of in the Kansas City area at the time. And they used to bring in a lot of Ring of Honor / TNA guys back then. Like there was a lot of shows with AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, pretty much anyone you can think of, like early Seth Rollins / Tyler Black, guys like that. So there was a big mix of guys like that, along with, the guys that lived in the area or within, a few hours. And then, so it kind of went away after 2008. And then it was brought back under the Dynamic Wrestling Federation. That was the initial name. And then some management stuff happened, and the guy who had the rights to the name, he was just like, I just want to call this Central States Wrestling again. And so so name change back to CSW, and it's like it was in 2004, 2008, where it was like pretty much the only promotion in the area. That's not the case anymore. Kansas City has a decent amount of wrestling in the area now, as opposed to just now. There's been like promotions come and go, but there's always kind of been a second promotion now. Back then, there was just pretty much one kind of, but that kind of goes hand in hand with there being many more wrestling promotions now and more just wrestlers themselves.
Speaking of Central States Wrestling, in 2007, you had a match at a show that really caught my eye because you teamed alongside Darian Sanders and Mark Sterling against Team Mexico as a part of the CSW AAA Warped Tour. So what was like a show from Central States Wrestling with AAA from Mexico. How did this show came about?
Honestly, I have no idea how that show came about. It was something where if I remember correctly, that show was like on a Wednesday. It was a very random day, and I remember getting a call that week. Maybe it was Monday, maybe it was Tuesday, and they were just like, "Hey, we're going to do a joint show with," and I'm like, "Okay, this sounds awesome." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it 100%." And yeah, it was a show that came up out of the blue, kind of out of nowhere, and it honestly at the time it was one of the funnest shows I had ever done in my life. Like it was an absolute blast.
And now we've talked about Central States Wrestling being an important promotion for your career, but another important promotion is definitely St. Louis Anarchy. And you already won the Gateway Heritage Championship when it was a Lethal Wrestling title, which would later become St. Louis Anarchy. So Lethal Wrestling would become St. Louis Anarchy. Would you say that this was like the start of things to come for you in St. Louis Anarchy?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been part of St. Louis Anarchy off and on, mostly on. I've had a couple little stretches where I wasn't really there much, but I mean, I've been a part of that since 2007, I think, and they're still going strong, and that's kind of always been my Kansas City is my home, but I consider Anarchy kind of my home away from home, and they've always done right by me. They've always treated me well. They've always they've always shown faith in me, and I'm not like a St. Louis guy per se, but I feel like I'm one of the identifiable guys with that promotion, and I just feel like they've given me like a lot of cool opportunities, a lot of cool matches to kind of test myself, show what I can do, and I have very high praise for that place, and I hold it in high regard.
In 2006, you had your debut for another promotion where you would become, to quote you, an identifiable guy, which is 3XW from Des Moines, Iowa. For our listeners who haven't heard about 3XW before, how would you describe the promotion?
I mean, it's a typical kind of wrestling promotion. It's not. It's definitely pretty simple as far as here's your good guys, here's your bad guys. They're not trying to be not trying to overcomplicate things, and they've always drawn pretty decent crowds, and have had solid shows. And they're another place that's kind of brought in certain, like I wrestled Tyler Black at the time. I wrestled him there when he was Ring of Honor World Champion. I wrestled Adam Pearce there when he was NWA World Champion. So they've brought in guys. They predominantly focus on their guys, but they'll sprinkle in the outside name, like they've brought in Perry Saturn or Al Snow, or guys like that, and they're still going to this day too. They don't run as often as they used to, but they're still going.
As you already mentioned it, because I have it on my sheet as well, the match that you had against Tyler Black, who we now know as Seth Rollins, on April 2nd of 2010, as you already said, when he was a Ring of Honor champion, it was as a part of 3XW Spring Showdown. What are your memories of this match?
Oh, we had an awesome match. It's I have a hard time ranking matches like this is my favorite or this is in my top 10 or whatever, but I remember it being it was when he was kind of blowing up, and I knew he was a guy that was going to get signed at some point, and here you look at it what he's accomplished today, and it's pretty extraordinary. But yeah, we wrestled to a 30-minute time limit draw, and like it was it was a great match. It was a match I was really proud of, and like I know that I earned a lot of his respect that day. And like he's I haven't seen him in years or anything, but at the time I thought he was a good dude, and the couple times I've ran into him since then, good dude. And yeah, that's a match I look back on pretty fondly.
You are also a record holder at 3XW because you've held the 3XW Heavyweight Championship for a total of 1,258 days, and you have been the champion 6 times. What are your favorite moments if you look back at the title reigns?
Well, I mean, again, it's I'd say it's just a promotion that's kind of put a lot of faith in me, and um, you know, put me in good spots where I could showcase myself. But as far as like matches that I've had there, I've had a couple of Iron Man matches with Mark Sterling there that I'm really proud of. I had a ladder match where I lost the title to Rory Fox that I'm really proud of. I thought that match was a really good match, and we told a really good story. I don't know. I've like I said, I've just kind of been fortunate enough that people have faith in me, and appreciate, I guess, what I bring to the table, and have given me a chance to showcase it. So, I mean, I've had lots of fun matches there, lots of great memories. I'd say those three, the two Ironmans, that ladder match, that match with Rollins / Tyler Black, those are, and then the match with Adam Pearce for the NWA World Title. Those are probably the ones that I would say are my favorite matches that I've had there overall.
You've also been the 3XW Pure Wrestling Champion for 3 times. Can you describe the concept of the title?
It essentially, their pure title is essentially their version of, like, say, an Intercontinental title, or a United States title. It's a secondary title. It wasn't. The pure name might suggest that there's pure rules attached to that, but there's nothing specific other than just it's an indie promote. Like, I love them, but it's an indie promotion that has one too many titles.
Fast forward to 2018, and you started appearing for a promotion that you would wrestle for now and then again over the years, including 2025. And this is Magnum Pro Wrestling. What makes Magnum Pro special in your opinion?
It's just a fun place. I mean, it's a place I've been to, off and on. It's a place that was started by Jason Strife, and over the years, me and Strife, we were kind of adversaries, in the ring, quite a bit, off and on throughout our career. We kind of crossed paths. I guess mentioning Strife makes me think of, we had a series of matches at the end of, I believe it was at the end of 2019, towards the tail end of 2019. We had a 3-match series there at 3XW that I really enjoyed and thought was really, really good as well. But back to the Magnum part of it, it's just a promotion that Strife started, and I don't know if people know the story of Strife. Unfortunately, a few years ago, he ended up passing away. Kind of just a really sad, kind of just tragic kind of event for a young guy to go through what he went through. And but Magnum's still going. It's now ran by a group of guys who were, if I remember correctly, they were part of his last kind of training class, and so they're all, trying to keep it alive and doing a really good job. I mean, it's a fun place. They draw good crowds. It's just, overall, it's just a really solid place, and they're doing a real good job. And they're trying to, I guess, keep his legacy alive, and kind of pay respects to him by keeping the promotion going. And overall, they're doing a really good job. And it's it's not a place that's ever been a regular stop for me, but every time I go up there, I have a lot of fun. And they shoot me a message and see if I got dates available, and I do, then I will be back up there.
Magnum Pro is one of not many, and probably the most known promotion from Nebraska. Is that something that's also important for you to represent the Midwest or the central area within the independent wrestling scene in the United States, by working pretty much all states and all parts of it?
I mean, I just, more than anything, I just, I don't know if it's subconsciously so much, I'm trying to represent that or anything, but it's, just wherever I go, I just want to present myself in the best possible way I can, and make it worthwhile for anyone who decides to book me. And, I just go out there, and I think highly of my ability, and I try to present myself in the best way possible. And like I said, just try to give people their money's worth, and make them happy that they brought me in, or thankful that I put on the best performance I can. And that's kind of my mindset on it. I don't really think so much about representing the area so much in that regard. But
And you've also made a name for yourself outside of like your home region or your home regions, because in 2021 you appeared as a part of the Scenic City Invitational, and you even made it to the semifinals. How did you recall the SCI 2021 weekend and your run there?
Oh man, that was awesome. That's good. That's that tournament. Like I think is one of the bigger, better, more prestigious type tournaments in the United States that's held yearly, and it was it's obviously something that I would have wanted to be a part of, and fortunately I was contacted about it, and got to partake in it, and it was a great time. I had a great time. I got to meet people that I'd never met previously, but like admired their work, or it kind of came across them on Twitter or whatever, and maybe conversed there, but never like met in person. And like that was the first time me and Daniel Maccabi had actually met in person, and we hit it off really well. And like I had never met Eric Royal, and like a great dude, and it was just a very very fun, cool, like just a great experience overall. Like all the people were great. Everyone was kind of just everybody was working together to try to put forth the best tournament. And yeah, man, I great experience. Glad I got to do it at least once. I would not be upset if I got to do it again sometime, but I'm very happy I got to do it at least once.
I don't have this on my sheet, but because you mentioned him, Daniel Makabe, you later on after the SCI went on to have matches against him at St. Louis Anarchy, the Pure Woods match, and also at, as we already said, back then it was still called Dynamic Wrestling Federation, now it's Central States Wrestling again. And so you had 2 matches against him in September of 2021. What are your memories of these matches, and maybe also what's special about facing Daniel Makabe?
Well, I mean, I remember both matches were a lot of fun. Very different matches. A cool experience, like getting to wrestle someone back-to-back nights in 2 different places, and having 2 completely different matches than each other. But it was great because again, he's like he's someone whose work, and that like I enjoy. I could see his stuff online, and I was like, man, this guy's really good. It'd be fun to wrestle him. And then we finally got the chance to do it, and when we got to do it back to back nights. So it was, that made it even cooler. He's someone I wish I would have got to wrestle him 100 times, but I'm glad we got to do it the 2 times we did, and I feel like both of us hold both those matches in pretty high regard and are pretty happy with them. And I know he's no longer wrestling, but if he ever decides to get back into it, I would love for us to be able to do it again sometime. So he's just a good dude and a really good guy. And he's a person I'm really happy I got to wrestle. So
if we flash forward to the recent past, and this is also my last question before Morbo will talk to you about what is next for you, you have been pretty successful as well, winning titles in multiple places. Most recently, you held the Tri-States Wrestling Championship alongside the Tag Team Championship alongside Rex Amadeus for almost a year, 358 days. What can you tell us about that title reign?
I mean, it was kind of we were kind of just thrown together as a team, and it was kind of under the guise of me. It was almost a joke that I picked him as my partner. I literally, the way our team came about was I literally took every name on the roster and drew a name out of the hat, and it was his name. And it was the idea was like I could take anybody and we could become champions. But as we teamed, it became more of a me taking this guy under my wing and trying to help him better himself and become like, you could see like his confidence started to, like in real, in reality, him partnering up with me, you could see him becoming more confident and more sure of himself. And so is what was kind of a joke in a way, like, as far as the angle went, it ended up being like beneficial to him in real life because it helped push him, and also, he's a good kid. And so we would talk about wrestling quite a bit, and ideas, and kind of what, you know amping up some aggression and stuff like that. And so, like, in the whole scheme of things, I think it actually it was a good reign. It was fun in a way for me because I enjoy trying to help people, and I feel like I helped them a little bit as far as just kind of getting a little bit better at certain things. And he obviously uh was attentive and tried to soak up anything he could. And I think overall just helped his wrestling ability and his just overall wrestling. So that's the main thing I take from it. I don't really take anything from I mean, we had fun matches, but just the kind of the real life stuff is more so what I take from that little partnership.
On Saturday, February 21, you will face Davey Vega as a part of the Central States Wrestling Flatline. What are your thoughts going into this?
I'll punch him in his face a bunch of times. That's my thoughts. Yeah, right now we are in the midst of a pretty heated feud. It's myself and Michael Strider, and well, Ace still was he was a part of the last show with us. That was kind of our we had a faction called the Foundation, Ace, Strider, and I. And in real life we're all super close, good friends, and we kind of wanted to have one last match together as a group, and that happened this past December, and it was with the besties, Vega and Fitchett, and also Dak Draper. But Ace is now back out of the picture, so the fight continues on with Vega, myself, Strider, and Fitchett. And so this month, or this show coming up, it will be, like I said, it's me and Vega in a singles match, and it's also Strider and Fitchett in a singles match. And yeah, we're going to beat those guys up. And I imagine at some point we will end up having another tag match or two. But for this go round, it's a one-on-one, and I'm going to punch him in his nose.
2 weeks later, you will have your debut in Germany for WXW as a part of WXW Ambition. How do you feel about this?
Oh man, I'm super excited. Yeah, it's hard to kind of like put into words how excited I am, because it's like I said, I mean, I'll be 48 years old here toward the end of June, and I'm getting an opportunity to debut over there as part of Ambition. And it's not something that I really ever expected to happen, especially at this point in life in this age. But it is happening, and yeah, I again, it's really hard to like kind of just put into words how like pumped up I am about it. It's it's, to me, it's something that's like I'm trying to think of the wording for this. It's kind of validation to an extent on because like my resume, as far like I believe I'm a very good professional wrestler. I believe I'm one of the best out there. But my resume compared to a lot of people's, the resume is not the same. And that's, for a lot of reasons, but a lot of like life outside of wrestling, life just kind of, I don't have the kind of life where I can just go wrestle whenever I want, wherever I want. And so this just kind of like it's a feather in my cap to be like, man, I really did that. That's something that I can be like, I did that. And that was like super cool and like a really big deal. Like that to be a part of that whole entire weekend in general was like it's just kind of mind blowing in a way, again, because it's not something like if this would have happened 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh, awesome. Yeah, cool. I should be a part of that, but now I'm just like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Like pretty surprised and I'm glad it's happening. I mean, it's obviously something that I said it's hard to put into words, and then I just ramble for a few minutes trying to put it into words. But I am I'm stoked, man. I am pumped up, and I'm ready to get over there, and I'm pretty motivated to put on a show.
Is this maybe the start of things to come for you? Maybe you have other international bookings in mind in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, again, my everyday life is it's not really conducive to hopping over to Europe whenever, but it would be nice if this can turn into something where maybe I can come over there a time or two a year for a few years. I am getting older, but I am not to the point where I'm I'm going to be done wrestling by the end of the year or anything like that. So hopefully, I would love, if it goes well, which I expect it will. And I hope that it does that I hope, that if this is the only time I ever go over there, that's great. I got to do it. I'm excited, but it would be even better if this is the first time I go over there, and then I go over again and again. So, I don't have really any expectations beyond I'm just going to enjoy the experience and put on the best performance I can. And whatever happens after that, happens after that.
Are there any promotions in particular that you would like to appear for in other regions of the United States?
I mean, I'm not opposed to anything really. I mean, it's just, again, it's, like I said, my everyday normal life is pretty busy, pretty hectic between just life with my kids and work. And so, if something worked out, I think pretty highly of West Coast Pro. I think that's a real solid place. It'd be cool to wrestle there sometime if it worked out. If not, that's life. And then, it'd be cool, to make it back in the SCI sometime if that happened. Again, I'm not fishing for anything, but those are places that I think would be fun to go to or go back to. But outside of that, it's just, I don't have a list of places where I'm I need to wrestle there. I feel like if I did, I would do really well wherever I go. And, but I don't need to go anywhere. But if things worked out, then I'd be more than happy to show up and have some fun and try to put on a great performance and, all that kind of stuff.
You already had matches against well-known names in the business like Jonathan Gresham or Tyler Black, aka Seth Rollins. Are there any dream opponents you still want to wrestle?
Man, I mean, there's guys that, yeah, I mean, my ultimate dream match would have been Sting, but obviously that one's not happening. But as far as guys that would be realistic, and I don't know how realistic Daniel Bryan would be, but he would be a great one to get in there with. But Timothy Thatcher would be really fun. I love his style. He's he's someone I really enjoy watching. Trying to think of actual realistic scenarios, and he would be a realistic one. I assume. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to narrow down because I wrestled Gresham. It'd be fun to wrestle him again. We only wrestled one time and had a phenomenal match. It'd be fun to work him again. I mean, there's millions of people that I would love to wrestle. But yeah, I'm open to tons of people. It's very hard to narrow it down to specific to specific people because it's just so many. There's different reasons for wanting to wrestle different people. Like so yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, Jeremy, that's it. We're at the end of the interview, and as always, the stage is yours. You can plug and promote anything you want.
I guess just I'm looking forward to making my way over to Germany here. I guess it's just a little over a month away. I know I'm part of Ambition. I think I'm going to be on another show while I'm over there that weekend. I don't know which one specifically, but trying to get it worked out where I work at least twice while I'm over there. I guess you can follow me on Twitter if you'd like. It's Jeremy Wyatt and the number 1. On Instagram, Jeremy.Wyatt and the number 4. And I just, again, excited to get over to Germany and see what comes of it after that. But I'm looking at the Ambition field. It's like a very cool field, and there's about anybody in there that I could get matched up with would be a lot of fun, and it'll be tough, but I'm excited, and I can't really express how excited I am for just the opportunity. So
thank you very much for coming on the show, Jeremy. That was a very cool interview. I think it's always nice to have such a veteran and go back to the memory lane and talk about like wrestling 20 years ago, because I'm also getting 40 in 4 months. So I'm also watching and following wrestling for a long, long time. And also the whole team will be at the 16 Carats. So we're really looking forward to see you live and meet you in person. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks again for having me. I'm again, like I said, man, I'm super excited to get over there. So it's going to be a very cool experience, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much to you, as always, Mo, and to you, Florian, but especially to you, Jeremy, because as I already said before we started the recording, you've been on my radar for, I think, 7-8 years at this point. And it was always like you and Thomas Shire, where I was like, oh, they are so great and more people should know about this. So we are very happy to meet you at 16 Karat Gold. And with that, I would also like to thank our listeners, and I hope you will listen to us in the future again. Goodbye.